We're going viral, baby!
Today, we're gonna talk about going viral. Is it the only way? Is it the right way to build an audience? I don't think so. I actually think trying to go viral might be hurting your creative practice. Hey, I'm Andy J. Pizza. I'm an illustrator, podcaster, and Skillshare teacher, and I have dedicated my career to exploring the creative myths and rules that keep us artists up at night. Welcome to Unmaking the Myth. We've all heard this idea that, the tree that shoots up overnight has no roots. If you grow too quickly, you cannot sustain that growth. I want to introduce a slower approach to building an audience. For a lot of people, Marvel started in 2008 with the first Iron Man and just totally took over culture and became this huge mainstream success overnight. But did you know the first Marvel comic came out in 1939? And it took all the way until the 70s until we saw the first Comic-Con, and it was in a small venue with just a few hundred people. This was a super niche audience. This was for a very small group of people for a long time. And over the years, they slowly but surely grew into a global sensation. That's why it's become this thing that is snowballed like crazy and is impossible to stop. This slow growth process actually occurs so often that it has a name. It's called the diffusion of innovation, which just means how ideas spread. Now, usually when we're talking about this, we're talking about things like technology. We hear it associated with stuff like the iPhone. How did it go from being something that was a niche thing that only techies were into to being completely ubiquitous? That is the diffusion of innovation. But that also applies to how creative ideas spread and how your work can spread. In the diffusion of innovation, you have these segments of the population. You have the innovators, you have the early adopters, you have the early majority, and you have blah, 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 so on and so forth. Really, creators, I think you need to concern yourself with the innovators and the early adopters because they are the key to creating a tipping point. Creating a point where your work really, really spreads. Let's start with the early adopters because that's where the good stuff happens. These are people who are super influential in a given sphere. We're talking about casting directors, talent scouts, book editors. These are people that make big decisions. They are people also that won't just try everything. How do you get on these big decision makers' radar? Well, that takes us back to the first episode, which you can check out after this video, where we talked about the 1,000 True Fans. The 1,000 True Fans are actually the first segment within the diffusion of innovation. It's all coming together. This is a kind of integrated model between both the 1,000 True Fans philosophy and the philosophy of the diffusion of innovation. But it's really, really good news because it means that if you want your work to go wide, the first step is to just focus on going super deep with a small group of people. So I live in Columbus, and we had a band come out of here that you might have heard of. They're called 21 Pilots. And if you say that you haven't heard of them, I would have to say you're a liar because everyone has heard of them. Do you know how I know? Because their fourth album, Blurry Face, every single song on that album went gold. The only other people to do that are, the Beatles, Elvis. These guys are huge, okay? And how does a band get to that place? How does a band permeate the culture at that level with such widespread ubiquity?
I'm falling, so I'm taking my time on my ride.
Well, it starts not first with going wide, but you guessed it, with going deep. Doing tons of small, intimate shows with their audience, connecting on a personal level, and then slowly but surely snowballing that into selling out big venues just here locally. And when that happens, those early adopters hear about it. How do you get early adopters' attention? You do it by getting die-hard fans. Die-hard fans are really hard to ignore. That's how you get their attention. Not when they hear a few people being like, yeah, I like him, but when they hear that a venue in Columbus is packed and the audience is going bonkers, they know there is something here, I better pay attention. Gold singles, competing with the Beatles, like this is some exciting stuff, but be careful. Just slow down and don't forget. Don't get swept away in the allure of focusing on virality and widespread success, because if you do, you're never gonna have what 21 Pilots have. What they have and what is gonna sustain them, whether the culture, trends, and ebbs and flows, is a deep connection with their true fans. So, have you watched all of Unmaking the Myth yet? Walk, run, or probably just click over here for the whole dang playlist. And don't forget to subscribe to Skillshare's channel for more. I don't want you to stop here. I want you to go to Skillshare, take my new class, and figure out how to apply these theories to your own creative practice so that you can build a thriving creative career.